have reached the day before the game. College football happened last night, and it was borderline glorious. Morning Drip, Isaiah Hole, publisher of WolverinesWire. I don't know why I'm doing all that, and we don't need to do all that. Nonetheless, let's talk a little bit about last night. I mean, that went kind of the way I expected it to. Ohio State at Minnesota. I thought Ohio State was going to win by a bigger margin for sure. I certainly had been talking to my best friend Doug about how we expected that to go, and we both kind of were of the same idea. It was going to be like, nearing the end of the third quarter, close game, and then before you know it, Ohio State's up 20, which isn't exactly how it went. I mean, Minnesota kept it respectable, but it's one of those things when you look at this game. Yes, Ohio State certainly looks like it could be taken advantage of, both in just defensively in general. It didn't look very good. Offensively, they had to rely very heavily on the big play. So I think that's kind of that makes you wonder if a defense doesn't bust, how much because their offense score. Now, Ohio State obviously has the athletes to make defenses bust more often than not, but I mean, still, it's it makes me wonder if there really is a path. I'm not saying there is. I have been very, very consistent for anyone who's listened to me or read me in the last several years. I will not predict Michigan to beat Ohio State until they do it. And then after that, then we can start to get into it. But if Michigan can get together an offense and its defense really can do the things that Mike Macdonald wants it to do, certainly that game will at least be more competitive in November. But that's the thing. The game is in November. Ohio State will be a completely different team in November compared to what it is as of yesterday. And that's going to be the same for Michigan, whatever Michigan looks like tomorrow. But tomorrow is the big day for all of you who are watching this, so let's get into that just for a few minutes. Full preview will be coming on Locked On Wolverines, courtesy of Jake Butt and I, and there will also be a small preview on on WolverinesWire coming out around noonish. But anyway, when we look at the issues that Western Michigan has, or poses rather than has, obviously, I hope that you got a chance to watch Random Guest with Scott Bell, because he really kind of elucidated on his concerns, which I think are valid in the sense of their concerns, but this is exactly what you want for Michigan in this moment, in the sense of they're going to be testing the secondary. They have some really good veteran wide receivers, and they have the quarterback, Caleb Ellaby, who certainly can pass the ball. The staff certainly called high alert to the fact that they are really good at penetrating the backfield, that they're really good at getting tackles for loss, that they're really good at getting sacks. That's not as much of the challenge in the sense of we expect the offensive line to be good, but when you look on the other side of the ball, if they are supposedly good at the thing that Michigan is mostly concerned at, then at least you're getting that test against Western Michigan. You're not getting it. It's not like going up against Minnesota, right? Which, by the way, if you want to play the transitive property game, which means nothing, Michigan certainly outplayed Minnesota a lot more than Ohio State did a year ago. And Michigan, obviously, that was the only big win of the season last year. So that is what it is. But what I want to see out of this Michigan-Western Michigan game, I just want to see Michigan. I want to do exactly what Jake Butt said on the X's and O's show on Sunday. I want to see dominance. I want to see that death strike. I want to see just being able to smell blood in the water, right? Like, I want to see this Michigan team have that big, hyped up, overwhelming performance that you're used to seeing against whatever MAC opponent they're facing. It doesn't matter how good they are or whatever. And because that's at least a show that they're back on the road to what they need to be. Western Michigan, again, really good last year. Only played MAC opponents. Should be a completely, I mean, the MAC and the Big Ten are completely different leagues, right? What's the argument when people are saying that UCF should have been, included in the college football playoff? Like the AAC is not the same as the Big Ten or the SEC, right? You could put Indiana of years past, not this year, Indiana of years past in the ACC or AAC, and they would just dominate. So I think it's this should be really interesting to see just the levels, right? And if it isn't that, then we know going into the season where our concerns lie, and we can readjust accordingly. I don't necessarily think that if it's this and then Michigan goes and does that suddenly we elevate Michigan. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but we at least will get an idea. Okay, what are our problem areas? What are the strengths? At least against Western, right? And if they're able to continue that into the next week, because my memory, at least, I wasn't in the media yet. It was the year before. I remember going and seeing Michigan versus Appalachian State in 2014, and they thoroughly dominated in that game. Yet, in the following game, they were shut out at Notre Dame. So that's also the difference between a home and a road team. But that's where I really like this schedule, in the idea that you can build, right? It's a nice, see what you have the big game, recalibrate, regardless of win or lose against Washington. Have a bigger game. We'll see how Rutgers is. They didn't play last night. Then you go on the road, right? You get, ideally, now you have to be on your P's and Q's the entire time. There's no point in which it's just like, all right, let's just screw around, right? But it's you can go from seeing what you really have, having a big game, and then kind of starting to build towards having that road game at Wisconsin and then the next one at Nebraska. Now, Nebraska certainly does not look like the threat that it may have posed on paper beforehand. But nonetheless, there's a lot to... I think that there's a lot that can be figured out here in week one. And I'm very curious to see how this ends up transpiring in the next 24, well, I guess a little bit more than 24 hours from the time of recording this. So since it's Friday, let's see if she'll, come on, see if you can even see the puppy here. Kind of. We can welcome Zuri to the show. She just woke up, apparently. That's going to do it for us on today's Morning Drip. We'll be back with some pre and post game stuff, and certainly keep an eye out for my keys to the game, which will be coming either later today or tomorrow as the pregame show, and then we'll have a post-game show as well. Happy watching. That's all I got.